What's going on, boys and girls? Welcome back to another video by yours truly. We're going to try and get through this as efficiently and concisely as we possibly can. It's a very polarizing and controversial topic, and that is the Cyberpunk banner drama. A lot of people are upset with the fine print details of how this collapsed gacha system and structure is being orchestrated in comparison to how it's normally set up in Wuthering ways with limited banner characters. And just based off of what I saw, I can get behind those sentiments. Now, I want to make sure we're perfectly clear here. I think the quality of this collab is so exceptional that it is deserving of money being spent on it based off what we've seen. We still have to play it when it drops in 3.4. But it's a very controversial and polarizing topic. It has split the community. A lot of people are upset. A lot of people are probably thinking, hey, man, whatever, who cares? I'm going to play it anyway. I'm going to pull on my characters. I'm going to have my fun because Kuro delivers. Regardless of what side of the fence you're on, it's important that we go to these topics with as little negative or positive biases as possible, hitting agendas, leave them at home, and we try to shoot it down the middle. It's important because this space already is filled with such strong biases to the point where the people aren't even aware of their own biases. And it gets disgusting at this time because people get to this, I would say, this mentality where they're like, I can't look to anybody because everybody's just cooked in the brain with their biases. And that's where I try to come in and just shoot it down the middle. That's it. There's no like negative or feelings or positive feelings. Just say it like it is. What do you think it is? If there's any point during this video where I am being very opinionated, I'll be sure to state that it is an opinion, okay? With that said, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, before we get into all of the details, I want to let you guys know all of the problems I'm going to have with these details starts with one fundamental concept, and that is the changing of rules. Every gacha game has a system set up as soon as the game comes out. And for that system to be unwavering and unchanging, at least to make sure that it doesn't get worse as time passes by, is important in terms of the ethical practice of that monetary incentive. When you change rules up and it makes it worse on the consumer that's playing your game, now we're dipping our toes into unethical territories, and that's where problems start to occur. It's okay to change rules to make it better for the consumer as time goes by, but to change those rules just to make more money at the expense of the consumer, that's where I'll have problems. That's where I'll call out the things that I find to be unethical and also just bad business practice. With that said, speaking of changing of rules, let's start off with this first one right here. You need 480 elusive corals to buy a 360 coral dupe. Yep, you heard that correctly. For whatever reason, despite corals costing 360 in this shop right now, you won't be able to buy the collab character's 360 cost dupe until you have 480. Yes, you need 120 more just to purchase the 360 dupe. I had to say that and be explicit because I know you're probably thinking, wait, what? That doesn't make sense. Why do I need 120 more? I don't know. This, to me, screams greed maxing. And if you're thinking Smack maybe didn't read it correctly, yes, I did. If anything, the typo is on Kuro's behalf. But here's the thing. First of all, let's just show it there in 4K. You can see that says 360. You can see it's blacked out. It's blacked out because they don't have 480. The rule, once again, is up here in 4K HD. It says you need at least 480 elusive corals. Now, that said, why are they doing that? I can't view it any other way other than greed maxing and a take I'll have once we wrap up all of the scrutiny we have for these details for this collab. Right now, it's greed maxing, and then there's one other point I want to reference at the end of this video. Let's move on. The next thing, people are taking problems with the fact that the banner, the collab banner, has a 50% chance, a 50-50 system, and it's not a guaranteed system. Let's peel back the layers on this real quick. One of the complaints is PGR players are saying in the PGR collab, it was 100% rate up for the DMC characters, no 50-50. If you come from PGR, then you have some leeway because you're basically going, it's the same company. Why didn't they do the 100% rate up like they did in PGR? I can understand that line of thought. If you've never played PGR and you've been a Wuwa player since day one and you're complaining about this 50-50 system, admittedly, I find it hard to get behind that logic. You essentially have been supplementing and supporting a company that's done a 50-50 system since the start of the game. Why are you surprised that they're still doing the 50-50 system for the collab? That's kind of my thought process on that. I'm like, brother, I'm sorry, but they've always done this. I expected them to do this. This is not beyond the realms of my expectations. We can cope and say maybe it'll be 100% rate up, but if it's 50-50, well, it's always been a 50-50 game, so Doesn't make sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense to complain about that. Now, if it was NTE, who has 100% rate up, and then their collab is 50-50, then once again, we're changing rules. When you start changing shit, that's where I'm like, oh, I hear you. Yes, get on their ass, stand on business, bitch them out, get up in arms on it. I feel I'm full behind that logic because they're changing rules. That's scummy, that's unethical, and that's greed maxing territory. For the 50-50 system, I can't get behind that, right? It's hard logic for me to get behind because you've effectively subscribed to a 50-50 system for 2 years with Wuthering Waves. That's how I think about it. Now, the next one, the guarantee count for the collab characters is shared only among the collab characters, event banners under the same collab campaign. It resets once a 5-star resonator is obtained. Effectively, pity does not carry over from the collab characters. This is changing of rules again. We've changed the rules now. Wuwa is not a game that does this. Wuwa is a game that says if you lose a 50-50, you're guaranteed the next 50-50 on the next banner that comes over. They're changing the rules specifically for the collab. I find that problematic. I don't give a damn if a collab is different. Well, you can try and frame it however you want to frame it. The reality is you change those rules for one reason and one reason only, to make more money. And that's scummy because you guys, gacha companies in particular, Wuthering Waves, you're an evergreen 10-cent title. You make enough money. You make a lot of money. You make too much money. How can I say you make too much money? Smack, don't you think you're getting behind your means by saying they're making too much money? Who are you to define that? Just reference other games that are tried and trusted. Just reference any games in the mainstream space that have won Game of the Years, Clair Obscures, Elden Rings, whatever, you name them. And the amount of money that those games generate it's a drop in the ocean when you compare it to what gacha games generate on a monthly basis. Even a game like Wuthering Waves, these games make so much money. It's absurd. They are overpriced with their shops, but people still play them because they have gambling addictions, the free-to-play model, and all the predatory practices, the hype, the FOMO, the adrenaline. All of it contributes to money being spent. And so that said, not like keeping the pity is scummy, because you're greed maxing once again to capitalize on the feelings of people who want to play the Cyberpunk Edge Runners collab and own these characters. And so I think anytime, once again, the rules get changed, that's when problems step in. You should not be changing the rules of your system to try and get more and secure more profits. You should be keeping them the exact same. If anything, if you do change them, it's for the betterment of the consumer, not for the worse of the consumer. And so that's how I view that as well. Now, the collab lasting for 32 days, mixed feelings about this one. It's once another opinionated thing for me. I am of the belief that you've had a whole year to know this collab was coming. If it lasts for 32 days, that should be enough time for anybody to secure the collab characters that they want to have. That said, this 32-day length kind of compounds on top of all the other things that they've done. And we'll get into those details, and that kind of makes it more of a problem. But me personally, I don't think it's fair for you guys to go like, oh, HSR's had a banner lasting for an entire year. A collab banner lasts for an entire year. Why can't Wuwa do that? In some ways, I think the comparisons can be fair in terms of monetary incentives, but for a collab, it's pretty preferential up to whatever developers want to do. I'm gonna be real, bro. Developers for the longest have always done limited time collabs, and if you come into the period for the collab, you can get it. If you missed out on it, well, you're gonna have to wait for it to come back whenever it comes back. That's good business. It makes people log in during that period to to play the collab and have the characters. Plus, people who own those collab characters get to go and say, hey, I own this character. I was here for that collab. You don't own the character because you weren't here for that collab. I really don't think it's that big of a deal. But if you ask me, in terms of length, I think it would have been more ideal for it to last at least 6 weeks, the way most banners last, or up to 8 weeks, right? Most 3 months long. I think that would have been ideal. But again, 32 days after knowing the collab is coming for as long as we've known it is plenty of time for anybody who's been keeping up with Wuwa, who's a fan of Wuwa, to secure these characters. That's kind of how I view it. But hey, that's just my opinion on that one. It's not meant to be taken as fact. I don't think it's a gold standard, though, that they should last as long as HSR's collab banner lasts. I really don't think that should be a gold standard. It's up to the developers. It's up to the parties that are doing the collab for how long they want that collab to last. Before we move on to the next thing, I want to point this out. You also don't know the split that CD Projekt Red is taking from this profit every time a sell goes through from Lucy or Rebecca. And so if the banner lasts for a whole year, how much money is being given to CD Projekt Red's pockets instead of Kuro's pockets with that collab banner staying up? People are pulling towards them instead of pulling on the characters that Kuro are promoting. This is a line of logic that ties into what I'm going to talk about at the end of this video, where it's like, here's what I think was going on. But I really do believe that's part of the reason why Kuro ain't making the collab last that long. Because the longer the collab lasts, the more they have to give that split of their revenue over to CD Projekt Red instead of their characters that they're trying to sell to you, because they get to keep more piece of the pie, right? It always comes down to money, boys. I'm telling you, it always comes down to money. But that's kind of something I just wanted to keep in your head. Once again, we'll give a full opinion on it at the end of the video. Let's get back to some of these issues. Here's a pretty big one. We skipped one portion. I want to save this at the end. We'll come back to it. But here's a pretty big one that the community's up in arms about, very controversial, and that is the changing of the currencies. Before I even give an opinion on it, I want to ask you guys one good question about this, okay? Why do you think Kuro Games changed the currencies to this exclusive currency? There's only one answer, and I mean this. There's literally only one answer: to make more money. That's it. That's it. Changing the currency and taking away the currencies you already have on your account to be allocated towards the collab characters drastically increases the chances of you spending the money to make up for that currency you no longer have to then secure the character you want to have, Lucy or Rebecca, or Lucy dupes or Rebecca dupes, signature weapons, so on and so forth. It's to make more money. That's it. No other reason. To make more money. And it's to calculate and anticipate people making errors on their account, being naive and thinking that this company is not a gacha company that will fuck you over. All of it, though, points in one direction: to generate more profits. That is why there's a changing of the currency. And so with that in mind, I would ask you guys, what do you think of this situation? I already know most of the answers, but they have now changed it to an exclusive currency. You can only pull on the signature weapons of these characters with this red currency, and you can only pull on the characters with this red currency. Now, when we come over here and we take a look at, let's just look at my account right now. I'll be having a lot more pulls. I always last minute a lot of stuff. These 16 limited pulls will not be used at all towards the collab characters. So that's minus 16 there. And then it gets even worse. The signature weapon also can't be used towards the signature weapon. And then there's a big one. I'm getting ahead of myself. The corals in this shop will not be effective on the collab characters as well. This is a big one, but since I'm getting ahead of myself, we haven't gotten to this yet. We'll come back to it. But I would say there's a post on Twitter that's like a perfect example of this. I want to pull it up because it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one, guys. This dude here says, I've been a fan of Edge Runners and heard about the collab. So started from last summer. I've been steadily saving up bit by bit, but I ended up exchanging most of it for that gold spinal wave pattern. He's talking about the Radiant Tides. I had no idea it was going to turn into a dedicated stone or whatever, but isn't there some way to fix this? I've sunk 320 hours into it and I dropped some cash on Gacha too, but it's brutal that this can't be used. He saved 540 Radiant Tides to hopefully use on the collab. He converted his universal astrites into a Radiant Tide. Now, guys, there's a lot of opinions on this. There's people cooking this dude right now. EO saying that's definitely his fault. There's no way to spin that on the developers because all he had to do was wait. It's not like astrite isn't used for everything in the game anyway. Now, this is not me trying to get you guys to take EO side or go against him. What I would say is there's merit to what EO is saying. You can say it's a skill issue, but to defend it is also equally as correct. I mean, I'm sorry, incorrect as well. Like basically, this is one of those two things can be right at the same time. To convert a universal currency into a one-dimensional currency, you could say, bro, why would you do that? And I get the logic behind that. I'm not even gonna say you're an idiot or you're wrong or whatever. But at the same time, a currency being shifted into a new currency is no excuse as well. This is why I said two things can be right at the same time. We can say this guy shouldn't have converted all his pulls into 540 Radiant Tides to be rendered useless for the collab. But we can also acknowledge that Kuro Games withheld this information from the community up until a week or in some change before the launch goes live. Why didn't they announce this well back when they announced the PGR, I'm sorry, the Cyberpunk Edge Runners collab a whole year ago? Why didn't they say, also, guys, we want to give you the heads up ahead of time to know that this will have a unique currency. do not convert your radiant tides. Why do you think they did that? They intentionally withheld that information to bank on your naivete in believing that they wouldn't screw you over. We know why they did it. They're a gacha company at the end of the day. And I tell you guys all the time, these gacha companies are what? Answer that for me. They're not your friends. They will fuck you over. They are here to make money at the expense of their consumer, even the consumer that's supporting them and spending more money than everybody else. There are people who are spending on these banners. Every single banner. They're getting Denia, they're getting Luke, they're getting Sigrika, and they're picking up the Hiyuki, and they're getting on the collab characters. These people are the ones with the most corals in the shop. These are the people who are spending the most money on their game, and they're the ones getting fucked by this. So, you know, it's a skill issue in one regard, sure. And I agree, you should not convert your universal currency into a one-dimensional currency. You're setting yourself up for error, but we should not defend predatory garbage like this. Guys, there should never be more than one currency. There shouldn't. The standard banner currency should probably be the only exception because that shit is dog water in terms of value and it ages like milk over time. Other than that, the limited currency should be the same currency utilized on all collab characters, all banners, all limited, all that shit across the scope of the game's length. They changed the currency. They did it to make more money and to fuck people over who were just simply naive. There's no other way to spin it. Two things can be right at the same time. But I want you guys to know there should never be a change in currency. And I think a lot of people who are cooking, people who convert their stuff over, will get behind that sentiment as well. In fact, I saw my brother Skull CJ. He was basically saying, why would you convert a universal currency into a one-dimensional? Great argument. There's really, it's really a dumb thing to do. It really is. But we also don't encourage defending predatory practices at the same exact time. And if you go under EO's comment, there's some good arguments being made. It's a really good discussion. Could the player have avoided an unexpected situation? Yeah. Did the company do this on purpose, hoping to screw over players with saved pools that converted earlier saved gold pools? Yeah. I blame the group with ill intent in this situation. You see what I mean? And I could get behind that. I really can. I love that thought process. Having multiple different gacha currencies like this is done for no reason other than to obfuscate and create confusion for mistakes like this to happen. It's predatory and wrong. I love these kind of discussions because it's such good, you know, facets of the discussion that contribute to productivity, that contribute to good conversation. This is true. We all know it. We're not dumb. We all know what's going on here, man. And so getting back over to this is garbage, fundamentally so. You probably also shouldn't converted your pools over. It sucks, man. But I will say there's a scenario where the game just gives you limited pools. Right? You just continue playing this game. You're going to get limited pulls from events, radiant tides from events. They're just useless at that point. Doesn't matter if you didn't make a mistake. You just can't use those radiant tides. And the company knew exactly what they were doing. This will tie into my take at the end of the video on why they're doing these things too. I think it'll make a lot of sense. So moving on, that is booty cheeks. Let's continue on. This is the next big one. Now, this is the most penny pinching shit. This is the most objectively. It's not even in my opinion. This is some penny pinching shit. And it's changing of rules, which I find problematic. I find unethical. They nerfed the amount of corals you get from how they normally do things. Let me give you an example. We come over here and we pull up the current limited banner and we just go over here to the rules. Yeah, you see the rules, like 0.8% to get a 5-star character. Imagine if they tweak the 0.8 down to 0.5 just for the collab. You're like, whoa, what are you doing? You see what I mean? Now, thank God they didn't do that. Thank God they didn't do that. But they did change the rules somewhere else, right? These rules right here. When you obtain a 5-star resonator for the first time, you're supposed to get 15 of the corals. Right? When you get a repeat of a 5-star, when you get a 5-star that's not the featured one, you lose your 50-50. You're supposed to get 30 corals, right? You can look at all of these little rules, right? From the 8th time onward, you get 40 afterglow corals if you have a S6 of a 5-star. When we pull this back up, they nerfed it. Now, instead of 15, when you obtain a 5-star, you get 12. And you might think, oh, well, I mean, yeah, they nerfed it. It ain't that big of a deal. Brother, it's not about that. Stop changing rules for the worse of the consumer. If you're going to change some rules, motherfucker, give us more for the betterment, not the worse. This is unethical. What are we doing? And then, to make matters worse, once you take all that into consideration, getting 4-star weapons, getting 4-star characters and all that, and you come back up here to the top where you got to get 480 elusive corals to buy the 362. Now you see them 12 corals at the bottom starting to hit a little differently, aren't they? And so this will all tie into my take at the beginning of the video, but it seems like they're penny pinching and they are grabbing things and changing things, tweaking here and here, all for the sake of making a little extra money, right? This is why, by the way, I skipped this, because I was one of the people that got duped. I was like, this is amazing. And I still think it's amazing. Don't get it twisted. I actually still think this is amazing. But the value of this is diminishing each time I point out these ways that they have extrapolated from their current consumers' resources they've been saving to use towards the collab. It's like, damn, when you add all this up, well, now this dupe up here ain't looking as sweet no more. It's like some people had enough currency to get this dupe with the resources they've been saving for the collab. But you took all those options away. And so now this is still valuable, but not as valuable. You know what I mean? Some people had enough corals on their account to buy 2 dupes, 1 dupe, 2 dupes. You knew what you was doing when you took that coral away and made it a different currency. Shame on you. That's some slimy garbage practice. This is coming from somebody who's excited by the collab, by the way. I'm not a Kuro Doom poster. Go check the last 2 videos, my live stream. I'm glazing the living hell out of them. This is just me, as I told you, being fair, shooting it down the middle, being pragmatic, trying to take into account the different perspectives from different players in different circumstances. There's no hate in my blood when I'm pointing this stuff out. It's just pointing it out, you know? Now, if you ask me, collab is still so exceptional in quality that I think it's garbage. I hope you guys complain enough for them to change it. But if they don't, I'm still playing the collab. I am. Now, if everybody got together and was like, nah, bro, all of us, everybody together, we're going to tell them we will uninstall unless they fix it. I mean, every Kuro player under the sun, I'd be down. I'd be leading that charge. Hell yeah, bro. It's about time the consumer took control. Bro, it's about time y'all knew that the power has always been in y'all's hands. But we know Gacha players, boy, y'all ain't about that life. All right, so let's continue on. I'm just having a little fun here, man, trying to lighten the mood. This is like a little nitpick. It's a minor nitpick. 10 days for 10 pulls. Bro, just get the 10 pulls on day 1. Why? Why am I complaining about this? Why are you complaining about getting things for free? It's because I understand FOMO, adrenaline, and hype on day 1 of these collabs being launched. A lot of people are not waiting 10 days to get their 15 pulls. A lot of people are going to be missing 15 pulls on day 1, and they're just going to spend money in the shop versus waiting on day 7 for 5 pulls and day 10 for 15 in total. This is why I always say, bro, give all this on day 1. It's okay to do the 7-day log and all that stuff. But honestly, if they gave it all on day 1, that would be more money saved in your pocket. That's why they stretch it all the way out to day 10 and day 7. It's a minor nitpick. It's not that big of a deal. I'm just saying that's a problem. The final thing I want to talk to you guys about, I do want to point out, you are going to get some astrites. This is still one of the greatest W's of all time. My boy Adam Smasher being a boss in the game, it's still a W. I still think the collab is exceptional quality. I think getting some pulls here and there is pretty cool from the events and such. You'll be getting some astrites. I'm not glazing over it. I'm just saying this is pretty valuable. For people who can't afford to spend the money, you'll be able to grind some patch out and get a couple of astrites. That said, the final thing, which I kind of already spoiled it, but I still want to talk about it, is this Coral Exchange conversion. This is probably one of the biggest scumbag things I didn't think Kuro was capable of. Taking away people's Coral shop conversion. I mean, it's just a flashback of, where's it at? Where the transducers. It's a flashback of this. It's like you put the transducers where I'm able to choose my substats in the worst spot possible in the game. You put it in the Afterglow Coral shop that I use to buy dupes or pulls on characters. Nobody is buying this except Wells. Put this transducer inside of the battle pass for purchase or even the oscillated Coral shop. Hell, the title exchange, you put it in the worst spot possible. Actually, don't put it in the title exchange either. Oscillated Corals is where that should have been if it was going to be a player friendly thing. At the bare minimum, put it inside of a purchasable battle pass. You put it inside Afterglow. But this, taking this away from players, that's slimy, man. Come on. Guys, let me break this down for you, okay? For me, it's just 25 pulls, right? But I told you, they're cucking me too, but the person who pulls on every banner to support Wuthering Waves, they're the one taking the biggest L, because the person that pulls on every banner is going to have a shit ton of these. And they're going to be like, oh, I can't wait to use on the collab. It's not just the fact that, like, Kuro, we all understand Kuro's trying to make money, guys. Okay, we all understand this. Okay, let me, now my brain's going everywhere, because now I got to tackle this argument. There are people out there who use the most broad paintbrush stroke argument. well, duh, they're a company. They're going to make money. It's like, brother, sure. But do you understand how horrible that rebuttal is to bad business practices, unethical practices? Like, you can use that rebuttal on literally anything out there in business. Hey guys, Walmart's now charging $15 a month for people to enter their store to shop. What the fuck? Are you serious? That's horrible. And some guy comes along and says, well, bro, they're a company. They got to make money. It's like, bro, what kind of argument is that, bro? Get out, stay in the back with Amber, little bro. It's like, oh, I'm charging $1 now for people to watch my YouTube videos because I'm a business. I got to make money. You see what I'm saying? We don't just use that excuse to just defend garbage business implementations in terms of trying to turn a profit. There's a time to use it and there's a time to not use it. This is not one of those times. It's a terrible argument, bro. Because that also implies they're not making enough money, that they're not making a heaping amount of money, that they're not making 50 million to 200 million a month. You see, the problem is people don't know how much money these companies make on the PC because they don't disclose it because they're private companies too. Y'all have no idea. You only see mobile revenue and little leaks of their profits. But if you only knew how much money they really make from PC and mobile and console, then you would go, oh, these guys are making egregious amounts of money. They're making billions. Like, it's wild when you process that. Oh, actually, I almost forgot to cover the Sweetdream Tuning. This is a W. This is a W. It's literally icing on the cake, guys. I'm gonna be real. Like, I understand all the other stuff I just pointed out was bad, but that doesn't mean that this is not good. Everybody, a lot of people, vast majority of people, were already planning to do 160 pulls on this collab to secure Lucy, to secure her signature weapon, to secure Rebecca's signature weapon. A lot of people were already planning to do that. That's over 160 pulls if you lose a 50-50, by the way. And it's still 160 pulls if you get Rebecca, Lucy, and Lucy's Sig. It's still 160 pulls. So in that regard, you're getting 15 pulls back and a extra dupe on top of that. It is literally just a W for so many players. Furthermore, this is not a definitive spending event. If you try to say that, you're objectively wrong. A definitive spending event is when you literally cannot acquire the goods without spending money. That was the spending event last time. I don't know if I have that up actually, because that event, you would not reap the benefits unless you spent money. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The event where you got the dog water rewards, you had to buy a monthly pass. You had to buy a battle pass. You had to spend money in order to get that little currency to then exchange for what they were offering. This, I can go start a new account, brand new account, play it for 30 days. I guarantee I'll reach 160 pulls and I'll be able to get Lucy plus the dupe and all that jazz. I'll get more than that actually. So this is not a spending event, but some people will end up spending to try and secure some of this stuff because of, well, they chose to pull on Denia. They chose to pull on Luke Herson. They chose to pull on Sigrika and he all four. So you probably will have to spend to get to 160, but that was a choice you made. That doesn't make this a spending event. It's a spending event for your ass. All right, my bad. I didn't mean to cook. Now, this back end part, it falls off a cliff. However, still, a lot of people saved up and they were trying to get an S6 Lucy. Some of them be able to get this for free. Some people have 420 worth of Astrites. They will go all the way to this without spending a penny, and then they'll just have 2 dupes and it'll save them a lot more resources on S6ing Lucy or Rebecca or both or whatever. Then there's whales who are just going to whale out. Another spending event for them. That's an exception. And they'll save a lot more money with this too. This is a W. You will not convince me that this is bad in any capacity. However, like I said earlier, it does dilute the value of it when you take in all the other little factors. Okay, I just wanted to cover that. Now, the next thing I want to tackle in this same exact topic, going back to how they took away your coral purchases. I'm somebody, 36 pulls went down the drain for me. 25 from this and then 16 from the Radiant Tide. That's pretty expensive still for a gacha game. But there are people who had enough to buy 2 whole wave bands out of the shop. 2 whole wave bands, that's 2 whole copies of a character, guys. That's up to, if you lose both 50-50s and go to the pity both times, that's close to $600. That's how expensive these games are. $100 equals 55 pulls. Now, thankfully, the top-up reset, right? So it's cheaper. Regardless, it's hundreds of dollars. Hundreds of dollars, taking away that from players is a lot of money. And they're banking on those players going, damn it, now that I can't use this, I'm just going to have to spend money because I am not missing out on my S2 Lucy, my S6 Lucy, my Lucy. I'm not missing out on it. I'm not missing out on my S6 Rebecca, whatever. They know how bad you want that character. They look at your spending habits. They have the data on you guys and how often you spend money on things. They know Cyberpunk Edge Runners is a hit. That's why this collab is such a huge and big deal. And so what's happening, and this is my anecdotal, I can't prove any of this stuff, right? But what's happening is they are taking in account how many players are going to end up spending money. People who want the collab characters will end up spending money to secure them. Money they would have otherwise saved if they could use their current Coral Shop resources and limited pools on their account. For example, let's say 250 to 500,000 players are now going to spend an extra 50 to 150 USD to make up for that L. This is not meant to be taken as fact. I'm just saying, let's say 20 million people play Wuthering Waves per month, or 20 million people are going to play this collab. 250 to 500,000 people, just making it up, throwing numbers out there, end up spending 50 to 150 because you took away their Coral Shop exchange and their Radiant Tides. That's 12.5 million to 75 million USD extra on top of whatever they're already going to make. This is just an example. All you got to do is just take 250 to 500,000 and multiply it times 50 to 150 USD, and you come up with that number. Business ethics are the moral principles and standards that guide the behavior of companies and their employees. It goes beyond legal compliance to ensure fairness, transparency, and integrity in daily operations, decision-making, and interactions with customers, stakeholders, and society. There was no transparency about them doing this up until a week or two ago. They waited for people to have a lot of corals, and then they're like, yeah, guys, by the way, this is exclusive Coral Shop. Well, that's some Hoyo shit, bro. Hey, man, I play out a Hoyo book, dog. I'm not going to cap, bro. All right, this is the double premier limited banners running at the same time type shit. I understand why people are up in arms about this, and I don't think anybody should be attacking people for being frustrated. Guys, I want to let you know. It always happens with the tribalism in this community. They go, oh, it's the Hoyo shills. Like, brother, these ain't Hoyo shills. These are very much Kuro players that are pissed because they're like, God damn, I got to spend my money now. And I calculated I was going to be able to get out of this with an S6 Lucy without having to spend this amount of money. Now that they're doing this, I'm forced to either spend money to get that or just miss out on it entirely. And that's the perfect predicament they want you in. Okay. That's the problem. I think people are entirely justified in calling out this. This is bad practice. It is, guys. It is. Now, I'm going to be real with you. This is where I represent the other side of this equation, and then we'll wrap up with what I think is happening. I also think there's a lot of people who were so excited for this collab, who are so pleased with the quality of what they saw in that live stream, how they've represented Lucy and Rebecca, Adam Smasher, David, the music, so on and so forth. It's very rare to find a company in the gacha space that actually does a good job with their collab, right? It's very rare. And so I think there's a lot of people who acknowledge how garbage this is, but they also acknowledge that they're standing in a casino. They acknowledge the bad shit, the ugly stuff that is existing in the casino. They know it's there, and yet they selfishly consume. Guys, this is the world we live in. As consumers, you have to know the rooms you're walking into, the company you're sharing this game with, and how they are operating. This is why minorities and majorities exist. It's important to know if you're the minority or the majority, because if you're the minority, nothing is going to change. The majority are going to eat that shit up. All right, like Cheerios. No, Cheerios ain't thinking like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and you're going to have to deal with that or uninstall. That's the reality of it. Now, I'm going to tell you something where you might be like, fuck you, Smack. I'm one of the people, I do not give a damn about any of this. I'm getting my Lucy. I'm getting my Rebecca. I'm getting my Six. Yes, this is garbage. It is. But I have fought this battle in the gacha space long enough to know how meaningless it is. I have tried for years, guys, to tell y'all about these gacha companies and their predatory practices. I've tried to scrutinize. I've tried to be like, oh, y'all gotta quit these damn gacha games. It doesn't work. Nobody ever listens. They just do their own thing anyway. And so it's at this point, I'm just like, all right, fuck it, bro. I'm done with it. We will call out the things. We'll be as fair as we can, but I'm just going to enjoy myself because none of this ever bothers me. I make damn good money. I can S6 every character from every patch going forward. That's not a flex. That's a fact. I don't, because that's just how I get down, but I'm here to tell you, none of it bothers me. It doesn't make a damn difference to me. I get my S6 Lucy and carry on with my day. I say these things because I just try and be as fair as I can. But I have lost my passion for getting on the horse and trying to call out every bad practice. Hey, guys, don't do this, because I realize I'm also a bit of a hypocrite if I do that, because I'm still covering gacha games. I am a bit of a hypocrite. I'm still covering these gacha games. I'm still reaping the full benefits of the sponsorships, of all these other things. I will call them out, but I won't really get up in arms about it because I know I'm still in the space consuming this stuff, promoting it and covering it. That's my honest thoughts on everything. Now, what do I think is going on? Why is Kuro all of a sudden Hoyo maxing? All right, why are they doing it? Some of y'all might even think Hoyo's doing a little better in some regards. Nah, hey, listen, I ain't gonna go that far. That's up to you guys. Y'all can fight it out. I try my best these days actually to not create tribalism, but it seems impossible. Rent-free is the perfect term of these gacha players. All right, you could say anything. They'll find a way to make it tribalism. I think what's happening is Kuro Games entered bed with CD Projekt Red, and they underestimated the budget. They underestimated the split with CD Projekt Red. I think what's happening is it was a very expensive collab. Not only was it a very expensive collab up front and throughout the year of making it, it's also expensive in the cake. And I can't prove any of this. This is another anecdotal. It's also expensive in the cut of the profit margin that CD Projekt Red is going to be getting on their characters. I think that's another big one. And so there's a accountant in a room full of business executives, and that accountant is plugging in these numbers, how much it costs to create the collab, how much the split is going to be going towards the Kuo developers, the Tencent team, and CD Projekt Red. He's plugging all these numbers and he's going, guys, this is going to be our profit margin based off of the data we have of players and what they're spending. We are falling far below what we guessed to make off of this collab. Here's what I think we need to do. Instead of 360 corals, make it 480. That's 120 corals. That effectively costs this much in USD, 120 corals if you convert it over. If players were to spend to make up that difference, this is how much we would generate. That would put us here. All right. Now, the coral conversion that you currently have in your game, if we were to take that from 15 down to 12, and we were to take this, it's all getting plugged in. This is how much they would have, and this is how much they would realistically spend if they were to try to cover that discrepancy. That would now put us here. Right now, the Coral Shop exchange you have, if you were to make that uniquely a new exchange, that's going to cause players to spend this much money on average based off the data you have. If we were to do all of this, this is how much money we're going to make. I think we should do it that way. Everyone's going to get the piece of their pie that they want. We all leave happy. The collab still ends up being a banger because we made an exceptional quality collab. We all walk away. There'll be a little pushback, but they'll be all right. They'll get over it. That is my tinfoil theory hack, because all of this looks like penny pinching. It all looks like an accountant just plugs some numbers in and just deductive shit. I can't prove none of it, man, but hey, that's my tinfoil theory hack, bro. Y'all comment down below. Let me know what you think. I want you to know once again, I don't really care about any of this stuff. I think it's interesting conversation. I love critical thought conversations. I love putting critical thought inside of my community viewers. Ultimately, though, at the end of the day, gacha companies are going to do what gacha companies do. I've been saying that since frame one. They're not your friends. They're there to make a profit. They are. This is the appropriate time to say it. They are there to make a profit, but it's important that you guys call it out. And if enough of y'all call it out, change might happen. All right. Peace, love, and happiness. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Thanks for watching.